Okay, I'm Derrick Schrog. I'm project manager for Chance Rides.
Aaron Landrum, President and Chief Operating Officer.
And Steve Blatto, mechanical engineering.
So the company started approximately 57 years ago with Harold Chance, and really started with our CP Huntington train. One of the stories that Dick always likes to tell, who's the CEO, is when Harold first said, "I'd like to, if I could sell half a dozen of these, I'd be happy," and we just finished number 401. And as we progressed through the trains, then Harold began to develop the portable carnival rides and really rethought how carnivals could make it easier to transport the amusements. And then over time, those expanded as a premier ride manufacturer, and then we began to add coasters, and then carousels also came along in that same time frame. I don't know if Derrick, you'd like to add a little bit of history?
Yeah, well, like Aaron said, you know, the CP Huntington is what started the company, and the Zipper's another real popular ride built back in the 60s, I believe, like 68 or something like that. That's what really got the carnival industry going within our company, and it seems like it just exploded from there.
I've been with Chance about 5 years. I've been in other industries, but really enjoy the challenges that it offers for a mechanical engineer. I mean, the sky's the limit as far as what you'll see on a day-to-day basis and what we're dealing with and what we're doing. So,
my degree's in mechanical engineering as well. I'm kind of a different approach to the industry. I'm actually aerospace and defense and diversified industrial. Came to Chance approximately 9 months ago from aerospace. But it's been a lot more different and fun than the previous activities. Building planes is always an enjoyment, but this is something that you can actually see the products with the end consumer. The family's enjoying, having a lot of fun. So it provides a lot of unique challenges that wasn't in my past lives. So.
And I have a background in automotive technology. I started with Chance over 20 years ago down in final assembly building trams. Worked my way up to the customer service department and field service department, and delivered rides for the company for almost 15 years. Been all over the world for Chance, putting rides together, and then most recently for the last couple of years as project manager for the company, making sure that the customer gets what they want and how they expected it to be built.
Morgan actually approached Dick at one point and asked him if there was interest in possible acquisition. Dick and Morgan talked through it, and we thought it was a very good fit to add to the history of Chance and kind of build off of our carnival rides and kind of see what was happening and actually enter a whole new area for the company. So actually they worked out the deal, obviously, and we acquired Morgan, and then going forward since then. When we look at the history of how Lightning Run and the Hyper GTX came together, was Michael Chance really recognized that a lot of parks can't afford a 10, 15, up to $35 million full-on hyper coaster because of their size. Their size and expense is something that parks just can't leverage up. So as Michael began to look through and see what the market needed, is we realized that there needed to be a smaller footprint, something that could give that same level of thrill and excitement, very smooth ride, with being within a price point that the parks can recognize. So that's what really started the development of the Hyper GTX, of something that really fit into the market and open up smaller parks that say, I actually have a hyper coaster now.
honestly, the thrill and the layout that's done with Lightning Run, we partnered with Ride Centerline, and I'm assuming it's okay to discuss that, but Joe Draves and Alan Schilke were instrumental in that layout. So everything that you get from a Schilke ride or what Joe's doing is in Lightning Run. It's their heart and soul really is into that ride, and the layout comes from those guys.
I think the key part of the inspiration was we wanted to make sure that we didn't want to have a situation where it was a jerky or it was uncomfortable to ride. There's coasters out there that really beat you up and abuse you, and we decided early on that for Lightning Run is how do we really make a product that is as smooth as glass, so that the guests can really enjoy the coaster and not feel like they're just being abused and bruised as they ride it. And I think that's part of the inspiration is really how do we optimize both the ride the excitement with Ride Centerline, but also make sure it's an enjoyable experience. So people really say, I really want to re-ride this and keep coming back to it.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with how Chance goes about actually putting the ride together and instructing the customer how a welded joint needs to be feathered out and stuff, and that plays a lot in how smooth a coaster is also. Is feathering out all the jointed welded joints and things like that makes the coaster smooth.
Alan's just a tremendous guy to work with. I mean, the guy obviously knows how to put fun in a coaster. He is obviously a very competent structural engineer. So I, being new to the industry, when I was working with that project, learned a tremendous amount from Alan. He's just a great guy and a lot of fun to work with, and obviously, like I say, knows how to put the thrill in a ride. I don't know that it helped or hindered. There were some challenges associated with it. There was limited data on where the footings were and all of that we had to work through. At the end of the day, I think it gave us a little bit of a head start on the construction project, but there was a lot of construction there. I don't know that there was a lot of benefit or detriment to doing it that way. It seems like it's compressed into a time frame that's tighter than anybody ever wants, but you get the notion that you're going to want a coaster and you're going to have an end date to get it open, and it's quite often a spring season opening. Lightning Run, I believe the discussions were started in early 13, and we were installed in Memorial Day of 14. So it was a fairly compressed time frame. Started with those layouts that the Ride Centerline will do and proposals of fitting it into the site, and all those considerations, and then transitions from here's the path and here's the layout they're going to use, and transitions into a manufacturing. We take those center lines and turn them into the coaster.
I think the design and development, whether it's the Hyper GTX and Lightning Run, is, for example, our Unicoaster 2.0, which is a new ride that we've launched at IAAPA. Those developments, 8 to 12 months is pretty normal. We are working right now on a new version of our family coaster for installation later this year. And we've actually incorporated some of those design features. So even if someone orders what we call a standard coaster, we are actually incorporating learning experiences, whether it's from our field service technicians, our customer feedback, and really taking that information and adding that into that development cycle so that the customer is always getting the newest technology, the newest experience, and the most reliability at the same time. So that does feed into that lead time in that development cycle. Dick Chance, who's our CEO, and Michael Chance, both have a passion for sports cars, racing. Dick actually has a motorcycle collection here on site. He likes to race, or used to race quite a bit. So that passion comes into the look, the feel of the vehicle. So they actually looked at how to make this look very sleek, very fast, and kind of make it feel like you're really in a, kind of get that, expand that effect of high-speed coasters through the look of it, so you have that excitement built as you see the vehicle.
That was the statement, the vision that I remember, is that they wanted it to look fast when it was sitting still, and it's kind of the way it ended up. So,
good way of putting it.
The design philosophy followed kind of the Morgan segmented backbone style of fabricating track, and we leveraged some new technology that we have in the shop that really facilitated the ease of manufacture and provided just an excellent quality of track. The smoothness that Derrick talks about starts in the factory for sure, and very well executed. I don't know that I can explain any benefit or, again, any pros or cons to doing that. It's just a different way to do it, and that's what Morgan had done.
Well, I think the key part is whether it's inside or outside, it really focuses down into is what's the vehicle design, what's the ride. It kind of, there's not necessarily a pros or cons to either way, is each have their uses and their appropriate design aspects for a given coaster. So I don't think we can necessarily say one's better or worse. It's just something that we've used with our legacy, and knowing that the Morgan vehicles and building out that legacy is how do we continue to improve that style of setup. I mean, I think one of the things that we use to really help keep the track extremely smooth and make sure the transitions are tight is we actually use aerospace grade positioning systems that tie back into our 3D model. So as our team on the floor is setting up the track, a lot of coaster manufacturers will set up track to within a 32nd or an 1/8 inch type tolerances. Ours are within a few thousandths throughout the length of the track, and then we actually fully assemble sections and work it all tight. That what makes a big difference because we have to get it right up front. So that's where we use both advanced aerospace technologies combined with our 60-year history of steel fabrication, and in a solid model. It all comes together to really create this very sleek and tight-fitting track that even goes not just for the track, but also your column positioning, how the columns interface with the track. All that has to be tight together, or you'll get some movement and get some of that unsmoothness into the track. And then from a maintenance and field service, I don't know if you want to add anything about how you go through a commissioning and how, for Lightning Run or other rides, how that is a key part of getting that smoothness into the vehicle.
Right, and then just making sure that everything fits together the way it did down in the shop in the factory. That if something doesn't fit out in the field, there's something that's drastically off, and we got to figure out what happened, why is that, and it was obviously fully assembled somehow in the shop, section by section. If it's not fitting, then there's a reason why. I need to figure out why it is, and not just try to cut corners. You got to figure out what happened, and then fix it right.
We mentioned that we have aerospace technology equipment, 3D models, and the team out here, but it really does come down to the workforce. Being in Wichita, Kansas, we have an access to a workforce that most areas of the country don't have. Heavy aerospace and also large equipment manufacturing provides us the workforce of very capable welders, setup technicians, and they really understand how all this comes together. And really the coaster wouldn't be smooth if it wasn't for our team on the floor. Really what makes Chance who it is, it's not me, it's not Derrick, it's not Steve, it's the people on the floor. Because at the end of the day, they got to take what Steve's created, Derrick's got a schedule, and I'm pushing to get it out. They got to figure out, how do I make this the way it has to be? And they do that every day without exception. And I think that's the key part why Lightning Run is so smooth, is because they always take the approach as, I'm doing this, it has to be the best as it can be. And I got to be sure that when I wake up in the morning, if my family wants to ride, whether it's Lightning Run or any other ride, they're going to have a good time and they're safe. And that's, I think, what really is a fundamental part of Chance and why not just Lightning Run, but other rides are so successful.
Going back on what Aaron said, our employees down in the shop, they take pride in what they do. They have a very huge sense of pride, quality, and they really care about what they do. And so that really flows into how the products turn out.
So when you look at the safety in the manufacturing process, is obviously working with very large structural components. So we focus a lot on safe handling of the large steel beams, how the team comes together and how they actually prepare welding. A lot of people don't realize welding is a very particular science. It takes a lot of work to get welds correct. We follow AWS throughout. All of our welders are AWS certified, and that really adds them to have a level of technical expertise. So we know that one is when they do the weld, it's correct, but then we also follow up with inspection, both visual and other non-destructive testing methods to say that that weld is adequate and it meets and exceeds all recommendations. That's really how the team gets that safety built into their product up front. And then as Steve is engineering the product, he's going through and looking at different factors of safety and things of that nature, if we want to add to that.
Yeah, the whole product is designed based on ASTM standards, if it's in the US or other national standards that are industry developed to provide safety for riders and all consumers and aspects of the amusement industry. ASTM standards are what we follow. There's a lot of thought in the case of Lightning Run is that ride centerline that's developed is developed in prescription to what ASTM allows for G-forces on occupants, and then it all stems down from that standpoint to the nitty gritty, and do we have the right handrails on the ride, and or the maintenance people protected in their daily operation of the ride. We typically go through a process of identifying all the hazards, and it's a hazard and risk assessment basically on every ride that we do. You look at it from a very high level as to obviously what we're doing could be a hazardous thing in riding the ride or manufacturing the ride or maintaining the ride. So we do a thorough risk assessment all the way through and mitigate those risks to an acceptable level. No, it was tailored to their site, obviously, but variants of that would obviously fit in other parks or could be tailored to other parks, and we've done several different layouts for potential customers on that. So it not necessarily going to clone that ride that I'm aware of, but it could be done if there was that site, but it would most likely be tailored to fit a client's particular layout.
That's exactly right, because as you look at for any given park, any given market, is the track is going to be set up based on that footprint they've allowed. And of course there's always local codes and things that say you can only have certain heights, etc. So the track itself would be modified as necessary for that particular client and what they're trying to achieve. Vehicle design and track, though, would be consistently that smooth build, so we'd have the same features, just possibly a different layout.
Right, and every customer wants to have something unique anyway, so building a clone of exactly what Lightning Run is at Kentucky Kingdom wouldn't necessarily be in the best interest of Kentucky Kingdom, because they want to have something that's unique. So we have the capabilities of changing up the layout just a little bit, but still getting the same type of thrilling ride like Lightning Run very easily.
So when we look at if there was a concern or a hesitation to deal with Kentucky Kingdom and with a park that had a history of closing and reopenings, is we really didn't have any hesitation. One is we have total faith in Ed, and we know that if Ed says, I want this coaster, this is the right place for it, it's going to be successful, we said, we'll be happy to support you. And we also want to help Ed realize his goal of really getting that park to be as successful as it is through having that iconic draw type of coaster and something very unique. The amount of feedback we've gotten from riders, you can see several of these on YouTube, it's always been extremely favorable, and that's what's really helping. That's what mitigates that risk after the fact. Is it was definitely the right decision to support Ed and work with him on the Lightning Run. The feedback that we've seen, and as we look at the different postings from on YouTube from riders coming right off the ride, it's extremely favorable. People love the fact that they have a high amount of airtime in a relatively small footprint. So it's definitely one of the favorites out there for a lot of coaster enthusiasts. And as we look at it, is we see people coming to us and talking about, can we get a Hyper GTX? What's the opportunity? But one thing that we do is we're actually taking what we have from the Hyper GTX and we're beginning to incorporate that into even as something as a different product as a family coaster. We're actually building some of those enhancements into a family coaster we're building right now for a customer to help with that smoothness and that excitement, so that it begins to go across the platforms that we have. The Unicoaster 2.0, which is a new product we launched, its track setup and design has built upon some of those thoughts as well. So all that's coming together. So that's how we begin to get the customers attracted, not just to another Hyper GTX opportunity, but whether it's a family coaster or a new product like the Unicoaster 2.0. Really, is if you're familiar with our Unicoaster flat ride, it's unique is that the passenger actually gets to control if they go upside down, how fast they rotate forward or backward. Mm-hmm. The Unicoaster 2.0 actually is mounted to a track as an independent vehicle. And it's self-propelled, so as it's going around the track and going through hills and drops and things of that nature, it also allows the rider to be in one position. So if they want to do like a flying position, or they would be on their back or completely upside down, alternatively is they can be constantly spinning. It's up to them how they do it. So what's unique is every time that someone rides a Unicoaster 2.0, it will always be different. The level of repeatability is virtually nil. It's the repeat rideability that's almost infinite. And what's nice about the Unicoaster 2.0 is it can also fit in a small footprint area. It also doesn't require a lift hill because it is self-driven each vehicle is, you're not as investing as much in a very tall lift hill structure and complexity. It's just the vehicle. It can be controlled by the operator, or based on certain points in the track, it can actually position the rider in a certain orientation and also adapt speeds. So to take this and incorporate it with a dark ride experience is actually possible. Also, it can also help support VR type applications, because you can really match up the movement of the rider with the VR experience. If those disassociated, you can have a lot of nausea problems. This is what a unique feature of Unicoaster 2.0 is. It allows you to mix both of that flexibility and control to really create something completely new and unique, even in a dark ride.
Personally, it's been a very enjoyable experience to know that I've been part of something that's as permanent and well known and enjoyed as Lightning Run. I know from a company standpoint, it's been a successful project for us, so I know it's well received within the company and has been beneficial to the company and hopefully beneficial to Kentucky Kingdom and enjoyable for years to come.
It means a lot to me that we have such an incredible product that people just love. I mean, you look at the feedback and everybody's like, man, that thing was great to ride. It was so much fun. It was smooth. I mean, it makes you feel so much pride in what we do here at Chance. We get a lot of feedback from our products. And when we look at some of the products we've done, Lightning Run really is one of the ones that we all get so excited about, because it's just been this explosion of positivity. It's very successful for Kentucky Kingdom Ed. That's really what we want to do, is we want the guests and the riders to really enjoy the ride, but it also has to support the business, both for Chance but also for Kentucky Kingdom, and we see that, and it's one of those things that it's really exciting, and I know the team here gets really excited about it as well, to see that response, because they put so much work and effort into the time schedules, the fabrication, the design, the delivery, the install. And to see it all come together with such a positive and exciting response, that's what really gets people to help get excited, get up in the morning and say, let's keep doing that. And that's, I think, really what Chance has taken from Lightning Run, is just that level of excitement and pride in this a top-notch product.
It really means a lot to me when I go to a trade show and hear from riders that have ridden Lightning Run, and just how excited they are, and they can't wait to ride it again and go back to Kentucky Kingdom. It just thrills me to hear that the enjoyment that they have on that. They just can't wait for another Hyper GTX to pop up somewhere else. That just warms my heart. It makes me want to get out there and push it some more. And then it just goes back to wanting to be able to build something like that again, having the sense of pride, the stuff that the products that come out of Chance makes it worthwhile.